Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, I did mention that I was going to be doing this story earlier today, and it's about the nationalisation of bus services in Glasgow. Now, they want to take all of Glasgow's buses and make it a nationalised industry, a nationalised service, and that way they can control it in a bit like, I suppose, Transport for London. It's owned by the corporation, it's run by them, and they are accountable, and that way there's no sort of shirking responsibilities, and they will have, in their way of saying it, an obligation to provide services for those areas that are not well serviced, in the way that London Transport, as it used to be, Transport for London now, always did. But again, that was held through legal means. They were obliged by law to do it. Currently, the buses are run as private companies, and there are certain routes where they must provide cover, but they're very few and far between the services to these routes. So that whilst there is technically cover, it is only a legal requirement. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get regular transport that way. So they're looking at bringing it all in and having this partnership created where all the buses belong to to the Glasgow City Council. How much do we think this is going to cost? 10 million? 40 million? Surely not £100 million for a council and a government that keeps pointing on that it's got no money whatsoever. So how can they spend £100 million on this? Well, it's obviously easy. They can't, because the price isn't £100 million. It's £400 million. Let's have a look and see what's going on and where they're going to get the money from and whose bright idea it was. Here goes. So the SNP could land taxpayers a £400 million bill if plans to nationalise the bus services in Glasgow alone go through, including an £8 million bill just to paint the buses. Now, they're saying 400 million now, but we know this is the SNP, so it's likely to be 6, 7 or even 800 million by the time it's done. And if you're going to wank away nearly £1 billion, wouldn't it be easier and cheaper just to start up your bus company from scratch and have a Glasgow Corporation bus company? It's got to be cheaper, surely. And as for paying to paint them, I guarantee they'll be painted blue rather than red. It won't be red like a red London bus. They'll be blue, and they'll be blue because blue for Scotland. Just to remind people when they're on their bus in Glasgow what country they're in, because this is the mentality of these people. Anyway, Scotland's billionaire brothers, the Easdales, have slated the Strathclyde Partnership for Transport, the SPT, for its attempts to nationalise bus services in Glasgow in plans backed by the SNP. So they want to nationalise this, but you've got these guys who do McGill's buses, these two brothers, billionaires, very rich, they don't care, they're off. But it's their business, and they want to basically bring in and nationalise this and forcibly buy the buses from these people. Well, of course, they're probably under no obligation to do this. And it's going to end in a court case, you can guarantee that. So for that 400 million, you're going to add millions simply in litigation costs. It's an absolute non-starter. It's dead on arrival. It's somebody's had a bright idea and it wants to sound good, so they announce it to make it look as though they're a forward-thinking and exciting politician with ideas that will lead Scotland into the future. And everyone else can see from a mile off. First of all, it's not going to be 400 million, it'll be at least double that. Secondly, it's going to take years upon years of litigation. Third, even if they did finally do it, it's going to be an unmitigated disaster because private companies do things well, governments don't. Everything falls apart when governments are doing it because the drive for profitability isn't there. It's an absolute joke, isn't it? Anyway, plans to nationalise buses in Glasgow could cost taxpayers £400 million a year. It has been claimed SNP and Scottish Green councillors in the city have backed proposals for Strathclyde Partnership to take the bus service in the region back into public ownership. However, this has received negative response from private operators, including McGill's, who run the services between the city and neighbouring regions. And the company's owners, the billionaire Easdale brothers, have claimed that SPT have been publicising the wrong figures for how much the project would cost. On March 15th, I think the 400 million would be the purchase price. It's not 400 million a year. It can't possibly be 400 million a year. It's got to be a 400 million startup cost and then whatever the running costs are. On March the 15th, the Ides of March, the Arm's Length Council Partnership announced plans on start of franchising the buses using newly activated powers in the Transport Scotland Act 2019. It commissioned global transport consultants Sistra to conduct a scoping study that examined the current bus networks in Strathclyde, and they claimed that the cost to the taxpayer would be between 45 and 80 million a year. I thought 400 million a year was high, but even 80 million a year, so you're paying 400 million up front to buy it, and then 80 million a year running it from the taxpayers. Where are they getting this magic money from? They haven't got enough money to fix the NHS, to fix the roads, to fix the schools. But hey, let's wank away £500 million buying some buses and running them. What an absolute joke these people are. Anyway, this would need to be paid either by the Scottish Government or the councils, but Humza Yousaf has insisted he will not be paying for it. He can't, he hasn't got the cash. They have got £45 million to spend on road signs, but not enough to give children textbooks, employ a doctor, fix a road. 45 million on the speed signs that you're not likely to ever reach. How about spending the 45 million on fixing the roads? That'd make a change, wouldn't it? The Easdales compared the potential expense to the ferry fiasco, as they demanded that SPT come clean about the true cost of its proposals. Sandy Easdale said, "We now have the figures to show that this plan would cost the taxpayer 400 million a year." Oh, their figures say it would cost 400 million a year. That's massive. As opposed to the 85 million that SPT is claiming. This is another ferry debacle in the making, but it is many times bigger. McGill CEO Ralph Roberts claimed that the more you dig into SPT's franchising wish list, the more you see the iceberg below what they are revealing. He said at a high level, they predict that the franchise network would deliver up to an extra 40 million bus journeys per annum, and would cost up to 85 million per annum. So that would be a straightforward £2 per ride. This is broadly in line with the current cost, so no huge surprise. Okay, and that's how much it costs, and that's that. But that's a private business that is efficient, cut to the bone, only pays for what it absolutely needs to pay for. It's not going to be micromanaging everything. It deals with it. When you get the government involved, they have to go in and in and in and in, and they have to say who buys what, and what's the supplier for tyres, and what's this, and do that, and we got this person doing this job, and who's overseeing these managers, and that sort of thing. So it's all going to explode in costs straight away. The inefficiencies of government. Anyway, he says, however, when you realise that the franchising wish list beyond the additional buses is going to cost significantly more money, then you must adjust the cost base of the entire operation. The SPT wish list beyond more services includes things like a more efficient network, better punctuality and reliability, increased affordability, which means lower fares, sustainability and environmental improvements, buses available when people want them and where people want them, a common network identity, integrated ticketing, fares capping region-wide, improved safety and security, better public acceptability, and a common customer charter. These are a lot of wants for a council that doesn't understand what running a bus service is. He said, for example, increasing the efficiency of the network involves spending money on infrastructure to the tune of 1.5 billion over the whole of Strathclyde, 500 million of which is in the Glasgow area alone. To increase the affordability of the network, i.e. to reduce fares, costs more again, and on it goes. The fares reduction alone would be in the order of 150 to 200 million in cost per annum. Painting buses all to be the same colour would be £8 million, and totting up all the qualitative costs on top of the network expansion, plus the amortisation of a huge one-off cost, means that a £400 million additional cost per annum is a conservative estimate. £400 million a year to be spent on a bus service in Glasgow. It would be cheaper to buy everybody and give everyone a taxi card and just have the taxis take them. That would be cheaper. Unbelievable. These people running Glasgow are absolute morons. Glasgow is overrun with rats. Sauchiehall Street looks like World War III. There is impoverishment everywhere. Unemployment is rising. Shops are closing. The whole of Glasgow is sinking into a mire caused by the SNP filth who are running the city. And they think they're going to afford $400 million a year for a bus service. And for what? National civic pride? What a load of wank. I'm coming up. Of course, the other thing is, whilst you might bring in experts at running bus services, they will be controlled ultimately by politicians who know sod all about anything. And instead of just letting the bus guys get on and run a bus service, the politicians will be every 10 minutes sticking a roar in. Can we do this? Can we change that? How about we do this instead? And so you know it won't be efficient, it won't be cheap, and it will constantly go wrong. Please God, don't do this. SNP voters, please stop voting for SNP idiots. Just think how much better the world would be if the SNP didn't exist. Thanks anyway for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. Never ever get on a bus if you're over 30. It's a sure sign that you're in trouble. Bye.